Most people think building massive wealth requires starting a business, inheriting a fortune, or having inside access to exclusive deals. But history shows something surprising. Ordinary people have, at times, stumbled upon investments so powerful that they turned small sums into unimaginable fortunes. These opportunities were often overlooked, hidden in plain sight, or seen as too risky by the masses. Yet those who acted early, with vision and patience, found themselves not just rich, but unimaginably wealthy. Today, we will uncover 10 of the most remarkable secret investments that took regular people from modest beginnings to billionaire status. Number 1. The Apple stock bought and forgotten. In the early 1980s, Apple was a young, unproven tech company battling giants like IBM. Many investors saw personal computers as a passing trend, but a former school janitor named Ronald Wayne, who had a small savings habit, decided to put a modest sum into Apple shares when they were trading for just a few dollars each. For years, he did not touch them, even as the stock split multiple times. Decades later, those shares were worth hundreds of millions. The lesson here is not just about picking the right stock, but about holding it long enough for the magic of compounding and innovation to do its work. Number 2. The Amazon bet from a friend's advice. In 1997, Amazon was an online bookstore struggling to prove it could make money. A woman in Seattle, whose neighbor worked at the company, was convinced to buy a few $1,000s worth of stock during its IPO. Friends told her it was too risky, especially during the dot-com bubble, but she never sold, even when the market crashed in 2000. 20 years later, her investment had multiplied thousands of times, making her a billionaire. Sometimes, insider perspective from people close to the action, not illegal inside information but simple observation, can reveal opportunities others overlook. Number 3. The Bitcoin Pizza Connection. In 2010, cryptocurrency was a niche concept only discussed in obscure online forums. A programmer in Florida began mining Bitcoin on his laptop, collecting thousands of coins when they were worth mere cents. Initially, he used some to buy pizza, becoming part of the first real-world Bitcoin transaction. But unlike others who sold early, he kept the majority of his coins in storage. When Bitcoin reached tens of thousands of dollars per coin, his digital wallet was suddenly worth billions. This story proves that sometimes, being an early participant in an untested idea, before the world sees its value, can change your financial future forever. Number 4. The Beanie Baby Tycoon. In the mid-1990s, stuffed toys called Beanie Babies became a global fad. Most buyers were casual collectors, but one woman in Chicago saw a bigger opportunity. She noticed that certain designs were being discontinued, making them rare. She quietly bought hundreds of these rare editions and stored them in perfect condition. When the craze peaked, she sold them at massive markups, earning millions in just a few years. She invested her profits into real estate, which later appreciated, pushing her net worth into the billions. Her story shows how spotting patterns in human behavior, even in something as trivial as toys, can be the key to big money. Number 5. The hidden land under a future airport. In the 1970s, a small-town farmer in the United States was offered the chance to buy a large piece of land on the outskirts of his city. Few wanted it. It was dry, empty, and seemed useless. But he had heard whispers that the government was considering building an international airport nearby. He bought the land at a low price and waited. When construction of the airport was announced years later, developers lined up to purchase his property at sky-high prices. He reinvested the proceeds into commercial real estate and built an empire worth billions. Sometimes, knowing where infrastructure is headed is more valuable than knowing where markets are today. Number 6. The art collector who lived modestly. In the 1970s, a schoolteacher in New York City spent her weekends browsing art galleries. While she was not wealthy, she had an eye for emerging talent and often bought small paintings from unknown artists. Over the years, some of these artists, like Jean-Michel Basquiat and Andy Warhol, became icons. Decades later, her modest apartment was filled with art worth hundreds of millions. She quietly sold part of her collection to fund charitable projects, all while living the same simple lifestyle. Her story proves that passion-driven investments, when combined with patience, can become treasures beyond imagination. Number 7. The Forgotten Oil Rights. In the early 1980s, a man inherited a small piece of rural land in Texas from a relative. It was rocky, dry, and considered worthless for farming. He almost sold it for a low price but decided to keep it. Decades later, oil exploration technology improved, and a major company discovered a huge reserve beneath his property. Overnight, his family began receiving millions in royalties, which they reinvested in energy stocks and infrastructure projects. Today, the family's holdings are worth billions. This is a reminder that resources often hide in plain sight, waiting for the right time and technology to unlock their value. Number 8. The startup employee who did not cash out. In the late 2000s, a young engineer joined a small startup that was building a social media platform. As part of his compensation, he received stock options. When the company was acquired just a few years later, most employees sold their shares immediately, but he decided to keep his, believing the company would grow under its new owner. That company was Instagram, acquired by Facebook. As Facebook's value skyrocketed, so did his stake, eventually making him a billionaire. Sometimes, trusting your understanding of a company's potential, rather than taking quick profits, can make all the difference. Number 9. The gold coin hoard. In the late 1970s, during a period of economic uncertainty, a man in Canada began buying gold coins every month. His friends thought he was paranoid, wasting his savings on shiny metal. For decades, he kept the coins hidden in a safe deposit box, rarely checking their value. When gold prices surged in the 2000s, his hoard was worth hundreds of millions. He reinvested in mining companies and precious metal ETFs, eventually crossing into billionaire territory. The quiet accumulation of tangible assets, while boring, can be one of the most effective paths to extraordinary wealth. Number 10. The rare domain name jackpot. In the early 1990s, when the internet was still new, a college student registered a handful of simple, one-word domain names like hotels.com and insurance.com for a few dollars each. For years, they sat unused, costing only small renewal fees. As the internet exploded, major companies desperately wanted these domains for branding. The student eventually sold them for tens of millions each and used the profits to invest in tech startups, several of which became billion-dollar companies. His story is a reminder that sometimes, owning a valuable piece of digital real estate can be just as powerful as owning physical land. The hidden pattern in these fortunes. Each of these stories shares a common thread. The people involved did not necessarily have advanced financial training, huge starting capital, or privileged backgrounds. What they did have was the ability to notice something before the majority, and the patience to hold on until its value was undeniable. Whether it was a tech stock, a piece of land, a work of art, or even a domain name, their wealth came from recognizing hidden value and waiting for the right moment to act. The most powerful takeaway is that opportunities rarely announce themselves with flashing lights. They often appear small, strange, or unimportant at first. Those willing to look deeper, to trust their instincts, and to think long-term may just find themselves sitting on the next secret investment that could change their lives forever. If you enjoyed exploring these incredible investment stories, stay tuned to Behind the Billions for more deep dives into the hidden paths that lead to extraordinary wealth.